Hejka moi drodzy, z tej strony Deseo, witam Was w kolejnym odcinku serii Black Mirror 2. Moi kochani, jesteśmy przed wejściem do tytułowego zamku. Ostatnio zdobyliśmy sobie tutaj gałąź, w krzokach leżałam, no i słuchajcie, spróbujmy użyć tego do otworzenia bramy.
Using this branch as a lever should work.
Ten odcinek, moi drodzy, będzie dość przegadany, więc nastawcie się naprawdę na długie dialogi. No, ale musimy przez to przebrnąć, może dowiemy się czegoś ciekawego.
Hey! How did you get in here?
The gate was open.
Really? I'll wring that brat's neck. I've told her 100 times that the gate must always stay closed if we don't want yobbos snooping around the grounds.
If you're referring to me, I'm not a yobo. I'm a policeman.
Oh, you don't say. Then you're sure to have ID. Can I help you, sir?
I've told Mr.
Lewis, good sir. To you, it's just Lewis. You'll take care of this bit. Wonderful. You will have to excuse our gardener, sir. How can I help you?
My name is Falk. I'm investigating a murder that occurred at the lighthouse last night.
I heard about that. Terrible. But tell me, your accent.
I'm part of an exchange program. The United States, Canada, and Great Britain exchange detectives to learn about the various investigative methods. Sherlock Holmes meets Dick Tracy, you might say.
If the government deems it necessary. What about Inspector Collier? Shouldn't he be accompanying you?
He's, sick today.
Ah, I see. He is getting on a bit. How can I help you?
Phew. This is an amazing property.
Indeed. It's a place steeped in history.
Unfortunately, all that history often had plenty to do with blood, death, and misfortune, from what I've heard.
The Gordon family was often put to the test. That's true.
Forgive me for putting it like this, but the castle doesn't make the best impression.
I don't understand what that has to do with your inquiry, Mr. Falk.
A witness saw an unusual black car at the crime scene.
What do you mean by unusual? The Gordon family does have a classic 30s English automobile in its possession.
Unusual enough. Were you up on the cliff with the car this morning?
The ladies haven't driven out anywhere today. And I also don't think that Lewis has taken the car either. Ask him. He looks after the car. Mainly when he should be looking after the garden.
This Lewis has a bit of an abrupt manner.
He's Welsh.
Uh-huh.
He came with his mistress, Lady Eleanor, when she moved in here after the death of her husband. He used to look after her castle's gardens in Wales. He used to have a different kind of work ethic there.
Lady Eleanor owns a castle in Wales?
She does. Her husband, Sir Richard, was killed in a dreadful accident a few years back. She moved here soon after that.
Interesting. What can you tell me about Samuel's ghost, which some of the tourists believe they've seen?
Indeed, there are a few tourists who believe they have seen him. but nothing unusual has happened for 12 years now. Apart from the castle being virtually besieged by tourists every now and again.
But not anymore.
No. Although, only yesterday there was a married couple who came to see the castle and its alleged ghost. Since they asked me politely in advance, I let them have a look around the garden. But did they find what they wanted? I very much doubt it. There are no ghosts here.
You said ladies.
Lady Victoria. She owns Black Mirror Castle, and Lady Eleanor is a relative of hers, from Wales. The ladies are the last of the Gordons. They reside here in the castle.
Can I have a word with them?
I would prefer it if you didn't disturb them. Lady Victoria is not a young woman.
No harm in a few words, surely.
Whatever there might be to discuss, you can also discuss with me. I've been involved with the Gordons for more than 70 years. I can tell you everything you may wish to know.
This woman has been murdered. Did you know her?
Are you sure, sir?
Sadly, yes. Her name is Angelina Morgan. You seem to recognize her.
Come with me, sir. We'll have to show this to the ladies.
Fine.
One moment, please, sir. I'll announce your arrival.
No słuchajcie, Bates bardzo dziwnie zareagował na zdjęcie Angeliny. Ewidentnie widać, że one ją znają również z nim, więc zobaczymy, czego się tutaj dowiemy.
Mr. Falk, their ladyships are ready to receive you.
Mr. Falk, is everything all right?
Yes, thank you. I didn't sleep well. Lady Victoria? Lady Eleanor. My name is Inspector Falk. I'm investigating a murder case.
Bates said you had a photograph of the victim.
That's right. Do you know her?
What's her name?
Angelina Morgan.
I don't know her.
If that's everything.
I do have a few more questions.
It's all right, Bates. Of course we will be glad to cooperate with the police. Drive to the village and do the job I asked you to do. I'm sure the inspector will keep us company.
Very well, Mom.
So, how can we help you?
You seem to be extremely keen to see the picture of the dead woman, and Bates had a noticeable reaction when I showed him the picture. You are sure that you don't know this young lady?
Quite sure. Only we are concerned. The murder took place quite close to here.
Not the first.
Sadly, you're quite right. It's now. It's 12 years ago, you understand? So many years. And now there's another murder.
Tell me about the series of murders 12 years ago.
No. It doesn't have a thing to do with this crime.
Leave all that alone. Please confine yourself to this murder case. This is quite bad enough already.
Your butler Bates seems to be looking after you.
He has been our butler for decades. He is something like the decent soul of this house. He sees it as his highest duty to do all he can for my well-being. Also, even if he neglects his own welfare.
Is he ill?
Yes, I fear he is. We've often suggested that he sit with us and enjoy some peace and quiet for a while, but he always strictly denies that he can no longer fulfill his obligations. We've recently taken on domestic help to at least help him out a little.
May I look around the castle? I'd very much like to talk to Louis one more time.
Of course. We have nothing to hide. Stay as long as you like. Only please keep away from the private rooms.
That goes without saying, ma'am.
Moi drodzy, nie wiem, czy wy również macie takie wrażenie, przeświadczenie, że jednak Lady Victoria coś ukrywa. Reakcja Batesa była dla mnie jednoznaczna, że znają Angelinę i wiedzą coś na ten temat. Dobra, zanim porozmawiamy z Lady Eleanor, to chciałabym ją poprosić, słuchajcie, o włóczkę, bo będzie nam w przyszłości potrzebna.
A basket of knitting gear. Wool, scissors, and that kind of thing. May I borrow a piece of thread, Lady Eleanor?
Some thread?
Yes, please. About 2 yards?
Certainly. Help yourself.
Thanks. Good. Thread is always useful. I took some of the tear-proof stuff.
Okej, teraz możemy, moi drodzy, rozmawiać z Eleanor.
You've only been living here a few years, Lady Eleanor?
That's right. I didn't want to live alone in a big house after my husband died.
So you moved in with your relatives in Willow Creek and brought Louis with you?
Louis was our gardener in Wales. He is sometimes a bit difficult, but I didn't have the heart to lay him off. I offered him to come with me and look after the garden here.
Which he doesn't seem to do.
Well, he didn't cope very well with having to leave his garden and his home in Wales.
Tell me about your estate in Wales.
It's a lovely castle. Not as big or old as this one. I haven't been back since we left. I'm afraid it's probably in a terrible condition. And the marsh has probably spread even further. It's terrible. I couldn't stomach seeing our home like that. We had many happy years there.
When did your husband die?
A few years ago, Sir Richard, my husband, was a scientist. He did his experiments in a summer house. I used to joke that he would blow himself up one day. I didn't really believe that that's exactly what would happen.
Huh. I'm willing to bet that I was imprisoned in Lady Eleanor's castle. It all fits together perfectly. And the phone call would suggest that it wasn't chosen at random. Did she make her old estate available for the Order to use? Louis is here of his own free will. I don't understand why he doesn't give this new life a go.
You are young, Mr. Falk. You don't know what it's like having to leave your home behind you. Louis's roots are in Wales. A tree withers without roots.
Why doesn't he go back then?
I've suggested it to him. I promised him a small amount of money to start him off. First I thought he would do it, but then he stayed after all.
Strange.
He's a complicated man. He's been working for me for over 20 years, but I still don't have the feeling that I actually know him. I think he blames me for his unhappiness. He only ever speaks to me if it can't be avoided, and I can see that hate in his eyes.
What kind of research was Sir Richard doing?
he had very diverse interests. After the tragedy 12 years ago, he was mainly concerned with, well, with blood.
With blood.
He was convinced that the Gordons' blood must somehow be different from that of other people. I think he was looking for a scientific explanation for all of the misery that has accompanied the family for hundreds of years.
A curse in a test tube.
Insanity is hereditary, as you may know. Why not misfortune?
Or the misfortune is only the result of the hallucinations. That explains what Angelina was looking for in Wales. She was hoping that Richard had found out something interesting before he died. I'm going to have another look around. Goodbye, Lady Eleanor.
It's nice to see another face in this house.
Dobra, moi drodzy. To wszystko, jeżeli chodzi o rozmowę z Lady Eleanor i Wiktorią. Ona przeprowadziła się, moi drodzy, tutaj z Louisem. On był bardzo opryskliwy, pamiętam w jedynce. Opryskliwy ogrodnik. Oni tam byli w Walii, w tym zamku, który jest usytuowany na bagnach. Mieliśmy już sposobność tam być niestety w niezbyt fajnych okolicznościach. Dobra, moi kochani, trzeba by było trochę zacząć rozgrywkę, bo cały czas tylko gadamy, a mamy już połowę odcinka. Chciałabym jeszcze zerknąć na ten globus.
A huge metal globe. A monstrous thing.
Tak, i zobaczcie, jest to pokazane jakby wejście do globusa. Takie drzwiczki widzicie przy myszce. Na razie sobie to pominiemy. Chciałabym się dostać póki co do kuchni. Ok. Tutaj mamy Sally. Ona na pewno nie była żadną bohaterką części pierwszej. Zapewne jest to ta pomoc, o której wspominała tutaj Wiktoria. Pomoc dla Bajca. No jest to już stary, schorowany człowiek. Najpierw chciałabym sobie może poklikać w pewne przedmioty.
A coffee grinder is the last thing I'd have expected in an English castle. But it looks really new and unused.
Okej.
The door is bolted. Might lead to a storeroom or a cellar. An empty vase. It looks old, like everything here.
Okej. Czosnek.
Oh,
Wampirów tu
excellent.
raczej nie ma.
Transylvania may be somewhere.
Dobra, mamy patelnię.
Two little metal pots. Judging by the layer of dust, they're no longer used.
No ale mogę to zabrać? Mogę.
No.
Nie? Nie mogę. A łyżeczkę?
A few teaspoons. They're all well polished and lined up in a neat row. I'm just gonna take a spoon.
No okej, przynajmniej to się udało. No ale niestety, jeżeli chodzi o tą patelnię czy tam garnki, to już nam zniknęło, więc chyba nic z tego nie będzie,
Well,
chyba że później.
Dishes are well looked after, but you can't hide their age. They're becoming faded.
Coś
There ain't
jeszcze?
many dishes for such
Nie. Dobra. Kuchnia węglowa.
a kitchen range that could really only be found in furniture catalogs of the last century.
Czy coś tu jest jeszcze? Obrazne.
Perhaps it's not such a good idea.
Dobra. Gumiaki. One nam się, słuchajcie, przydadzą na
A pair
pewno.
of old rubber boots. They're as clean as when they were made.
Zajumajmy je. Dobra. I jeżeli chodzi o to pomieszczenie, to myślę, że to wszystko, tylko trzeba by było jeszcze porozmawiać z Sally. Słuchajcie, pogadajmy z nią.
Hello.
Oh, hello. A living soul? Here?
My name is Falk, Inspector Falk. I'm a policeman.
A copper? How exciting. I'm Sally.
Do you know this woman?
Never seen her before. Looks a bit like a snob.
I don't suppose there are pictures of all the cooks who have worked here by any chance.
No, no idea. Must be ages ago, though, since there was an actual cook here. Ask Bates, he knows everything.
I'd prefer not to ask either him or Lady Victoria.
Then I don't know either.
You and Bates, look after everything here?
Well, looking after. Bates does most of that. He lets me do all the dirty work. Cleaning, cooking, and all that sort of thing.
Isn't that your job?
That's what he says all the time. But being honest, I'd expected something quite different, you know? I mean, a castle with such snobs living in it. You'd expect the odd soiree every now and again.
Or, cute prince.
Well, Charles is off the market now. But anyone under 80 would do this place a world of good. Sometimes it really does seem like a grave here.
What can you tell me about Lewis?
A disgusting man. Ugh. I was hoping when I started he wouldn't be a snob like all the others are here. But he's just as boring and in a permanent bad mood. I never get more than 3 words out of him.
Is Lady Victoria a good boss?
I don't know. Bates hardly lets me talk to her. When I first came here, I made her ladyship a few suggestions on how she might want to redecorate the castle a bit. Just get rid of a bit of the mustiness, you know? Since then, I always have to ask Bates if I want something from her ladyship.
What's wrong with Lady Eleanor?
What could be wrong with her? Snore. Sits around all day either knitting or reading.
Anything else?
She plays piano for Lady Victoria every now and again. In this house, that counts as having a wild party. You know, it's about time I got myself another position.
You want to leave?
Yeah, sooner rather than later. Maybe to a movie or a pop star's house. Somewhere where things are a bit lively at least.
Can you tell me anything about Samuel's ghost? Apparently it's been seen by a few tourists.
Oh yeah, I've seen it too. At one of the windows. It scared the living daylights out of me. A gruesome face. I hope I'll never see it again.
Huh. That's true. At which window?
I don't remember exactly. I think it was in the Forbidden Wing.
Forbidden Wing.
Yeah, you know, what's behind the locked door in the hall.
Okay. I won't keep you from your work any longer.
Ah, don't worry about it.
Dobra, moi drodzy, jesteśmy po rozmowie z tak naprawdę taką tam, słuchajcie, pospolitą sali, ale tu już jest któraś kolejna osoba z rzędu, która wspomina nam o duchu Samuela Gordona w zakazanej części skrzydła, patrząca, słuchajcie, przez okno. No, jestem ciekawa, czy to jest kwestia ducha, czy jednak jakiejś innej istoty. Dobra, słuchajcie, podejdźmy sobie do stajni. Ja bym, na pewno pamiętacie tą lokację, natomiast ja bym chętnie, słuchajcie, pogadała z Louisem na samym wstępie.
Hey, Lewis.
You again? I thought you'd been thrown out.
Lady Victoria gave me permission to have a look around the castle and the gardens.
How nice of her. What do you want?
What can you tell me about the castle?
Nothing. A big, ugly building.
With an overgrown garden.
What have I got to do with that?
Aren't you the gardener?
My garden's a few 100 miles west of here.
In Wales.
That's right.
So you just do the bare minimum here, if at all.
The garden's too big for one man alone, and what's the point in looking after it? This whole place is doomed. The house is falling apart. The lady won't live for much longer, and Bates is as good as dead.
You're hoping that Lady Eleanor will return to Wales when Lady Victoria dies.
Perhaps.
That's a nice car.
Certainly is. The only decent surprise here. I discovered it behind the stables, built it back up from scratch. My father used to work on a car like this, and he taught me quite a bit.
Do you sometimes take it out for a spin? To the coast, for example?
I drive the ladies. They used to still have bloody horses in the stable, but looking after them was too much effort for the old folks. Now, this is the only pair of wheels. But the ladies don't leave the house much at all. Bates usually walks to the village. He says it's good for his health, but every time it takes a bit longer.
You weren't at the coast with the car this morning.
No.
What can you tell me about Lady Eleanor?
If you want to know something about Lady Eleanor, then you better ask Lady Eleanor. She's her own favourite subject.
You mean...
She threw everything away and fled here in a mad rush after Sir Richard died. Who does such a thing?
The castle and the garden in Wales reminded her of her dead husband.
And she should have thought of the family history. You don't just give up an house where generations have lived and worked.
How did her husband die?
He blew himself up, did all kinds of strange experiments. In the last years he became obsessed with uncovering the secret of what drove Sir William and his sons insane. He hardly left his lab anymore, and collapsed in exhaustion more than once. Her ladyship was very worried.
Bates seems to be very tired.
He's terminally ill. The doctors say it's a miracle he's still alive. But let me tell you, Bates will kick the bucket on the very same day that Lady Victoria dies. Like a dog that follows its master. I think he just finds it unfitting to die before his mistress.
He says he's worked for the Gordons for more than 70 years, and that he knows all their secrets.
I'd believe that at the drop of a hat. No one knows the castle and garden better than him. But when it gets to his own bonce, he's getting forgetful. The loyal.
I met Sally.
Huh. The only one in the castle who's not at least 100 and starting to decay.
Is she a good housekeeper?
She's lousy.
She often seems to be in trouble with Bates because of that.
He's the one that chose her, and turned away much better candidates.
Why did he do that?
Yeah, if you're worried about being replaced.
Then you chose the worst possible replacement, to stay indispensable yourself.
That's how it is.
Lewis, do you believe in ghosts? Some tourists claim they've seen some here.
Oh, yeah, the reputed ghost. They besieged us for weeks on end after Murray planted that rumour. A whole pack of them completely trashed the garden.
Lady Eleanor said she gave you the option of going back home to Wales, and even offered some money to get you set up.
I don't know what that's got to do with you.
I just find it strange. You desperately want to go back, and are even offered some money, too.
And then? Work as a caretaker in a new bloody housing estate? I've offered more than once to look after the castle in Wales, and keep it in working order. But apparently there's not enough money for that.
So, it's not so much about going back to Wales. It's more about going back to your castle and your garden.
That's right.
What you really want is to turn back time. Unfortunately, that's never been possible. Well, see you later.
Okej, moi
Not
drodzy.
if I see you first.
Dobra. Jesteśmy po rozmowie z bardzo niemiłym Louisem, ale po tych wszystkich rozmowach mamy jakiś tam swój obraz sytuacji. Zaraz sobie tutaj poklikamy we wszystko, co się da. Może uda nam się zdobyć mozaikę, którą Ten oto kruczek nam zajumał. Natomiast bardzo bym chciała się dostać jednak do tej, słuchajcie, zamkniętej części posiadłości zamku, do której teoretycznie nikt nie ma wstępu. I jestem bardzo ciekawa, co my tam znajdziemy. Dobra, a póki co klikamy sobie na przedmioty, które się da. Dobra. Błoto, o właśnie. Słuchajcie, umaziamy chyba gumiaki w błocie. Wrobimy w coś bajca. Nie bajca, przepraszam. Luisa. Dobre by to było. Dobra. Okej, co jeszcze tutaj mamy? Mamy skrzynkę z narzędziami. Coś mi Jumpy gra, coś chyba się robi w tle, chociaż nic nie puszczałam, nie wiem o co kamam. Na pewno Darren coś ci się przyda.
I could also use it as a weapon if I need to, which might be the case in this
Młotek.
place.
Jako broń, co wydaje się bardzo prawdopodobne w tym miejscu. No spoko, to słuchajcie, możemy i zabrać młotek. Drabina, również ją zabierzemy.
It seems to have been used a lot. The rungs are really worn and smooth.
Dobra. Kolejna sprawa, to ja nie wiem, czy da się zrobić tutaj zdjęcie tego herbu? Zaraz sprawdzimy. I co jest? Nie da się.
That's probably the Gordon's family coat of arms. I don't know when it probably...
Nie. Okej. Czy da się tu wejść? Nie. Mamy jeszcze studnię.
Ancient well. I can't imagine that it's still in use. Even this place must have a normal water supply by now.
Okej. Mamy jeszcze gniazdo.
I bet the Raven stole the piece of mosaic from Angelina's backpack and brought it here to its nest.
Co za zbieg okoliczności, moi drodzy. Okej. Słuchajcie, trzeba zrobić na kruka wabik. No i tak.
I've knotted the spoon to the thread. You're not gonna free that in a hurry.
No i dobra, zrobimy coś w zasadzie. Sroki są takie, które lecą do błyszczących rzeczy.
Let's try it.
Ja jestem jak sroka, słuchajcie, lubię wszystko, co się świeci i błyszczy. No ale chyba jak połowa kobiet.
Look at this. A shiny spoon.
No i słuchajcie, mamy to. Więc musimy podłożyć sobie koniecznie drabinę i musimy zajumać mozaikę.
He doesn't like... I gotta be careful.
Okej. Mamy pierwszą część z 4.
Angelina's mosaic piece.
No i dobra, słuchajcie.
A piece of mosaic for a spoon. A good deal for me.
No i dobra, słuchajcie, aż zaczęło, słuchajcie, lać, jak zabraliśmy tą mozaikę i mega się burza zrobiła. A jeszcze koło samochodowe, nie zauważyłam tego. Dobra, możemy jeszcze raz pogadać z Luisem? Nie, dobra. No właśnie. Dobra. Moi drodzy, na dzisiaj sobie kończymy zabawę z Black Mirror 2. Zobaczymy, co uda nam się ustalić w następnym odcinku. Ja Wam serdecznie dziękuję. Tak jak mówiłam, był to dość przegadany odcinek, ale już czuć ten, wiecie, taki klimat Black Mirror. Moi drodzy, do usłyszenia. Pa, pa.